Okay, so how should we start this? How about like this? I'm a wild child, come and love me! I want you! My heart's in exile, I need you to touch me! Cause I want what you do!
Welcome to V-Rock, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome to V-Rock. I'm Laszlo, and this is my co-host, also Laszlo. We're gonna be listening to some W.A.S.P and nothing else!
This is the first, I don't know if it'll be the last episode of, what were we going to call it? Movie Buffs in the Buff?
Yeah, because I'm fucking naked. Or either that or like Buff Movie Buffs, I think sounds a little bit better. But you can just tack on in the buff there if you happen to be naked, which I am, because I just got back from the gym. I just got out of the shower. I'm fucking buff. I'm sitting here staring at my own muscles getting pumped. Pumped for some W.A.S.P, but more importantly, pumped for some movie talking. Welcome to the first episode of Buff Movie Buffs. We're just two fucking buff movie buffs, and this is what we do. And this is how it starts. I'm a wild child, come and love me. I want you. My heart's in exile, I need you to touch me. 'Cause I want what you do. I want you.
And we've decided to go with, for the opening will be Last Blood. But I think, and which is, I think, an appropriate film to talk about Rambo in general for a show with Buff in the title, I guess. But I think before we actually talk about Last Blood, we got to talk a little bit about John Rambo as a character and a bit about the series as a whole.
Of course.
Rambo originally appeared in the David Morrell novel First Blood, a fair few years before First Blood. The film. And for those that aren't aware of this, the book is very fucking different from the movie. Everything from the way Rambo is described to look like to who he is as a person. Like in the novel, he's a tall, bearded fucking mass murderer. He kills cops, like a lot of cops. Teasel in the novel was played by Brian Dennehy, and the film is quite different as well. His reason for hating Rambo also goes a bit deeper than just not digging him because he's a drifter. In the book, Teasel hates Rambo because they're both war vets of different generations. Teasel served in the Korean War and feels like people give too much attention to the non-vets and don't show enough appreciation to the vets of the war he served. The book ends in a bloody standoff, resulting in Teasel being shot to death and Rambo getting his head blown off by his own colonel. Grim shit. So luckily, First Blood as a movie was nothing like this. The film painted John as more of a sad underdog, a war vet drifting from town to town, trying to reconnect with his old war buddies after leaving Fort Bragg. The film went on to cement the character of Rambo as a bona fide pop culture icon of not only the 80s, but a staying power to this day. 3 films in the 1980s, an animated series, action figures, a fantastically bloody and successful comeback in 2008, and of course, Last Blood in 2019. So, Jess, what does the character of Rambo mean to you?
Rambo is the man. First of all, it's good that you said that you sort of like went over where the character comes from, because like the biggest problem with this movie that I've seen is not the movie itself. It's too many people watching it who don't know shit about Rambo the character or about the series. Mm-hmm. Rambo is a character who speaks to me on a level that few other characters manage to achieve. He's just so, he's got this heart, he's a good boy deep down inside, but he's seen too much. His life has been too brutal, too ugly. He's seen the blackness in the hearts of man, and he's just tired of it. Even by the first movie, he's tired of it. You want to talk about the fucking, the fifth movie, decades later, he's more tired of it than you can imagine even. Well, and,
you have to take into account, this is following the 2008 film where he was already bitter as fuck at the beginning of that one. So imagine how he's going to be feeling after putting up with the shit that he had to face in Burma, seeing all those mercenaries get fucking slaughtered in front of him. And it all meant nothing. It was all worthless. And now
it's such a deep character. And it's so like there's so much more to these movies. Everyone thinks Rambo without seeing them, and they think, oh, it's, those dumb action movies from the 80s. And yes, some of them are pretty over the top, especially like 2 and 3 and even the fourth one. But like
two's like more of a cartoon. Like it takes
Yeah.
sort of what the character was in the first one, but now he's wearing the like really bright red headband, and he's got like the fucking tank top and shit. Like he looks more like an action figure in the second and third film, where
which ironically is like the most iconic look of Rambo that people think of in the second movie.
Rambo 2 is like one of the biggest box office draws of the 1980s. Like that's probably the one that officially cemented him as the character, at least as like a pop culture icon. Like it was right up there with the likes of fucking, the Terminator with Jason Voorhees, all that shit. He was one of those characters that pretty much paved the way for other action heroes of the 80s.
Yeah, and even like the cartoony ones, like the second one and the third one, even they have this like emotional core. Like they're all character studies of this guy who has just been kicked around and sort of just like thrown away by his country and his government, and just like the bitterness that slowly builds up in him, this longing for peace that he can never find. It's a character that like, even if you're not like a soldier, you haven't like been to a war, you can relate to him on some level. I feel like I can. I feel like any real man can relate to the struggle of Rambo's lifelong war. It's just like the song says in the first movie. It's a real war outside your front door. That's what the movie really speaks to, is, we're all fighting a war, going through life that no one fucking understands. No one's listening to what I have to goddamn say. No one gives a shit. Well, fuck you. It's like, hey, do we get to win this time? That's what I say to people when I walk up to them. And then they say, hey, some asshole cuts me off in traffic. So I follow him home, and I get out of my car, and I beat him to death, and I hold him up at gunpoint, and I'm like hitting him in the face, and there's blood everywhere, and he's like, stop, I'll give you my money. And it's like, I don't want your money. And he's like, well, what do you want? What do you want? And I'm just like, what do I want? I want what they want. What every guy who came over here and spilled his guts and gave everything he had wants for our country to love us as much as we love it. And that's what I say when I'm murdering a man with a tire iron in traffic.
No, but yeah, I can see your point that it's like the character is very relatable, even whether you're a soldier or whether you're just a person, just a normal person that's been fucked with. Anybody that's been fucked with, I think can relate to Rambo in a way.
I mean, shit, anyone who's had a bad encounter with the police. I mean, that first movie, like, it takes me back. Like, there's been so many times when I've had encounters like that with dickhead police officers, and it's just like I know that feeling of like being Rambo in that situation, and it's just so infuriating. And like, it really speaks to like, even if you're not coming home from Vietnam, a lot of these experiences on some level you can relate to.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people get picked on like shit in like high school for dressing differently, dressing weird, or even into your more adult years, in your 20s and 30s. If you're kind of an unconventional person, you're probably gonna get fucked with if you don't dress like everybody else dresses.
And just the way that Rambo, like, just the way that he is, like, he's, even by the first movie, he's already become this really sullen, like, withdrawn guy. Doesn't talk a lot in public. He just wants to be left alone. Like, that's a feeling that I know. Like, when you're just walking around outside, and it's like, nobody fucking talk to me. God, like, I think there's a lot of people who feel that way, even if they haven't necessarily seen their friends get blown up.
Yeah, it's a strangely relatable character. And I feel like it all culminated so well into the 2019 Last Blood, which I don't know. I mean, I felt like it was a really fucking great movie. I know it's got a lot of critics and a lot of naysayers right now, but I feel like it was a perfect culmination of the earlier films in the franchise, and I feel like it was just a great send-off. I thought it was a really great
I feel the same way. I mean, I sat there, and I mean, like, maybe it's just like me. I know you and me are the kind of guys who like really give a shit about this character to a degree that other people might not understand. But like I was sitting in that theater and like just the beginning when like Rambo was like on his ranch being happy for like the first time ever. Like seeing Rambo be like I had like tears in my eyes. Like Rambo is having a good life, and then like this nagging feeling in the back of my mind like, okay, how's this all gonna get fucked up?
And it got fucked up bad. It got fucked up in ways that I wasn't expecting to even happen.
And
I guess the movie's been out for what, like a week and a half, so I think we can do some spoilers.
Yeah. We sure. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like there were parts in the movie that were like a surprise that caught me off guard. That like I really wasn't expecting it to get that dark for Rambo, and I'm like, oh no, Rambo doesn't deserve this shit. It
got weirdly dark, yet it's something to expect. I mean, the guy is constantly losing his loved ones. Like throughout the series, bad shit happens to him. You know, even in Rambo.
That's the first thing in the first movie when he goes to see his friend, and his wife is like, "Oh, he's dead from that Agent Orange shit you guys sprayed around."
Yeah, and from then on, it's jaded Rambo all the way. Like, and First Blood even kind of begins in a similar way the Last Blood does, because he's very happy when he's coming up on that hill at the beginning of the first film, and he's excited to see his old war buddy, and then you just see the mood shift when he's hearing about what happened with the Agent Orange stuff, and it's just, you feel so fucking bad for the guy. Like you just want him to have a good life, and it was so amazing seeing him just riding around having fun on his horse at his family ranch. He's got like
and there's a line in this movie where his niece says, you know, asked him about like when he was a soldier, when he was a kid, and he's like, yeah, I had some of the best friends I ever knew back there, you know. And it's like it's so interesting to me that like we never see those friends. We have never seen like Rambo's experiences in Vietnam and the people he hung out with and like served with. We just hear about them in passing because they're all dead.
Yeah.
And even now, it's cool that like even now, like as like a 70-year-old dude, like those are still like the best friends he ever had.
He still remembers that life. Yeah, I mean, he still remembers his squad, Trotman, all that stuff, and it's very special. It's special to him because it was strangely enough, even if it was in a war zone, it seemed to be the most positive part of his life, at least up until the ranch stuff. And of course, shit goes horrifically fucking wrong, as it always does for Rambo. I mean, the heart of the story is pretty much his niece and how much he cares about his niece. I'm not sure who that woman is that's living with him. I'm guessing like a distant cousin or something.
Yeah, that was a little bit confusing. Like, who is the old lady? Who are these people to him exactly? Like, they say that the girl's his niece, but like I don't remember Rambo having a brother or nothing. But I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know much about his family. I guess that's sort of beneficial to telling that story. Is the earlier films didn't really say much about his past life, other than maybe in the 2008 film where he mentions, you know, that he's from Arizona, he's got a father, maybe. So you can kind of build whatever you want around that. It's like these are just some distant relatives that he had before. His niece had an abusive father, a mother that died. Obviously, Rambo's father had passed, and he had taken over the ranch. And the whole thing here is that the niece wants to reconnect with her biological father, who's a scumbag who lives across the border in Mexico. Rambo does not want her to go there because he lives in, not only is he the guy a terrible person, but he lives in an awful part of town, and he doesn't want his young niece going out there risking her life. He's telling her, you know, don't make similar mistakes to me. Live your life, you know, safe, make better decisions. This guy was a piece of shit to you. It's just all sorts of stuff. He gives her the speech, a very fatherly speech. And of course, because it's a Rambo movie, she does it. She goes anyway. She ends up getting kidnapped by a small group of traffickers, is tortured there. Rambo, of course, goes he's a bit more like vigilante in this movie. It's not so much the super commando that we've seen in the
it's kind of going back to the first one, where instead of him being like in an active war zone, he's just kind of in a place where there are shitty people.
Yeah. He's rocking the Vietnam jacket again, all that stuff. I thought that aesthetically was very cool.
It was a new way to see Rambo, like in a new situation you don't usually see him in, like as like an urban vigilante. I thought it was cool as fuck.
That was really cool. It was like, what if Rambo took on sort of like a Punisher kind of role? Is pretty much what we saw him doing that. And it was great because it really dialed down in a good way the grandiose scale of some of the previous films, especially like Rambo 3 or the 2008 film where it's just carnage and explosions. And this movie had that too. The finale, the last 20, 30 minutes or so is pure Rambo action. But the stuff when he's in Mexico, when he's going through like the whorehouses, fucking dudes up with a hammer and stuff, it's very like cool, low scale 80s style like vigilante stuff. Lots of neon color.
Like, it's a lot less like superhuman than some of the later ones got, because like Rambo at first totally gets his ass kicked in this movie by not even like soldiers or badasses, just like regular dickhead like drug dealers and human traffickers. Like, yeah, they're like mean guys, but it's just like regular dudes, but there's too many of them. Yeah, and like he's just like there like scouting or whatever, and he gets seen and they kick his butt, and it's cool like seeing Rambo like lose a fight for once. Yeah. To like remind you that he is like a human guy.
He's just a dude. Yeah, he's a very strong, fucking jacked, awesome dude, but he's a dude nonetheless. He can get beat. He can get beat up. And it was great to see him climb out of that and then obviously take down the fuckers in the whorehouse. But then that's where that swerve comes in. The niece at this point has been like tortured for several days. I think she's been with the traffickers for like 5 days at this point because Rambo obviously got beat to shit. He was saved by a journalist in that town that kind of nursed him back to health, stitched him up. By the time he ends up saving his niece and he's about halfway home to Arizona, she ODs in the truck, which I found that to be a fucking gut punch. I wasn't expecting that to happen.
Like, I wasn't. Like, most movies pussy out. Most movies would be like, you know, he saves her like just before she gets raped, you know, so that like her precious maidenhood is intact. No, she gets beaten, she gets tortured, she gets raped repeatedly for days, and then she ODs because they inject her with drugs, and she dies in the car in Rambo's arm after he saved her like on the way home. And I wasn't expecting it. Like, I really thought like the movie would be, okay, he takes her home and then they go follow them and then they go chase them back to Arizona. But no, she fucking dies. She just dies. And like, the moment when I like realized what was happening in front of my eyes, I had such feeling for Rambo, just like, oh no, like, and I think Rambo even says, because he's seen so much death, the way he reacts to it is perfect, because he's just like, oh no, you know, it's like just not even like shocked or horrified, just like deflated, like, of course, you know, another person I love is dying.
Oh, yeah, it's so tragic. He just like basically pulls over on the side of the road and just breaks down pretty much.
Yeah, and then he has to go home and like break the news to like the old Mexican lady who lives there, and that's like a whole other gut punch.
Oh, when he's like fucking, when the woman's going over to check on the niece and Rambo's just like standing there in the middle of the road, he just looks so disappointed with himself. Like, it's fucking tragic. You just want to give the guy a hug. Like, Rambo has had, if there's any truth to the film Last Action Hero about how fictional characters feel all of this shit that's happening to them and how much they probably resent their creators and shit, I'm sure Rambo probably resents the people that created him more than any other fucking character. Like, the shit this guy goes through.
And Sly's performance in this movie, like always, was awesome and great. Like, he knows Rambo. He knows this character inside and out. He knows how to convey these emotions, like, just with his eyes and, like, just with his face. And, like, I'm sure we'll get into this more later about how, like, the criticisms of this movie make absolutely no sense and are completely fucking retarded. But, like, I've seen people saying that Stallone's performance was, like, bad in this movie. And it's like, what are you talking about? First of all, like, he does more acting in this movie than any Rambo movie ever, because like Rambo actually talks in this one, which was interesting and cool just on its own to see Rambo have more to say. But like, there was like, he was good, like the intensity, like when he's on the walkie-talkie radio thing and he's like, I'm gonna rip out your fucking heart and I'm gonna shove it in your pee hole, you know, stuff like that. That was like really intense. Like, yes, that was like Rambo's. That was like 50 years of Rambo rage coming out in that fucking incredible speech. I'm going ahead in the movie, but like near the end when he's talking to the last guy on the radio, that was a great fucking speech.
It was. It was also a nice callback to some of the radio shit talk that he did in the second and third film.
Yeah. A lot of the absolutely. And in fact, like even the line like I could have killed you 10 times. You know, it calls back to when he's got the knife at Teasel's throat in the first one, and he's like, you know, I could have killed you, but I didn't, you know, let it go. You know? It's kind of like the same line, just...
Yeah, it's very much harkens back to that, and it was fucking great. And that whole climax, because Rambo's got this thing on the ranch where he's digging tunnels. He's got a thing about tunnels, and I think it's kind of like... He maybe feels safe there because it reminds him more of being back in like a war zone kind of thing. He can't get comfortable. I don't know exactly what the tunnels were a message for, but I'm guessing it's that sort of thing that he...
I think that he's just like so uneasy with peace that like even when his life seems to be going great for once, he's still preparing in some way for it to go horribly wrong. Like, he's just building tunnels for 10 years. Just because, I don't know, maybe someday I'll have to kill 50 Mexicans in here. I don't know.
Yeah, and boy, does he fucking ever. Oh, God, the finale was as Rambo as it gets, I would say. We saw a little bit of everything from every other film, but done in its own way also. Like, we saw a lot of the cat and mouse stuff from First Blood. We saw a lot of the carnage and explosion kind of shit that you'd see in the second, third, and fourth film. Yeah. Just violent as fuck. Rambo using traps like he was using in First Blood.
We get to see him setting up all the traps at first, and then we get to see them all being sprung. So cool. It's like Home Alone, but for hard asses.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. We see him using his bow a little more in this one, too, which was great. It's not all gun violence, Rambo. We see some hand-to-hand stuff. We see bow and arrow stuff. And then just a great fucking showing of vengeance when he does. He cuts the heart out of the man that slayed his niece. And just ruthlessly
it's
kills
so
him.
Fucking satisfying when he fucking rips his... Like, he says, I'm gonna rip your heart out. And he fucking does it. He rips that guy's heart out. And it's awesome. And it feels so satisfying. Because even as a viewer, as like a lifelong Rambo viewer, it's like it feels personal. Like, this was Rambo's happy ending, and they fucking ruined it. The ending of Rambo 4 was such like a perfect end for the character, and like, the fear with the sequel is that they're going to have to undo the happy ending, which they kind of did. They gave him 10 years of being happy. But, like, even though it was really, like, the people making the movie who did it, you can get lost in the movie and feel like, no, it's this fucking guy, these fucking human traffickers, these fuckers who did it. They ruined Rambo's happy ending, and he deserves to have his fucking heart ripped out like Kano, and that's exactly what happened. And it was so fucking... I came in the theater. I came buckets out of my dick, because I was naked in the theater. I was even a movie buff in the theater, just sitting there naked, alone, and no one could stop me. No one could say anything about it, because if they came over, I would have put them in a Roddy Piper sleeper hold and snapped their neck with my massive naked man arms. Just sitting there coming in the theater all over the giant screen.
All in all, yeah, I loved Last Blood, as did Jess. I know people that didn't like it, and that's fine.
Yeah, I was highly satisfied.
I'm not going to call anyone stupid for not enjoying it for whatever reason that you didn't enjoy it. Fine, that's your opinion. It's okay. If you didn't like it for political reasons that some people claim that it had, which I don't think it did. I mean,
well, fucking, that's the thing. Like, I'm totally fine if someone doesn't like a movie that I like, I'm fine with it. You don't have to, like. But, like, when I see someone's reasons for not liking a movie, if your reasons aren't fucking good enough, then I want you to fucking die. I want to cut off your fucking head. I want to slice through your fucking feet with a machete, and I want to shit in your butthole with my own butthole. I want to put my butthole on your butthole and shit my infected fucking maggot shit into your body and give you shit AIDS.
I mean, I can look at it from an objective standpoint in terms of, like, I can see what's going on with the Hispanic community right now. The whole border thing is shit. The containment camps and stuff are awful.
Some people are offended.
I mean,
because some people are fucking
totally
stupid morons who don't deserve to live.
like, I get it. I get that you can sort of see this as like a bad timing film. But the thing is, what a lot of people fail to understand is there's nothing in this movie about anti-immigration. There's nothing in this movie about anti-Mexican or anything. Plus, it's been in development for I'd say almost 10 years. Like, Sly has been wanting to make this film for about the same amount of time as he was working on the 2008 film. This was something that was always going to happen. There was an idea of Rambo fighting the cartel. There was an idea of Rambo fighting a biker gang. There was all these different stories that he had kind of rattling around in his brain for the last 8 years, and it culminated into this one. Like, I think this is a screenplay he's been working on for a while. Unfortunately, it came out in kind of a shitty political climate, but Sly does not hate Mexican people, all right? This is not a racist film. It's just a small contained group.
No, and he's not killing Mexican people. He's killing, like, human traffickers who happen to be Mexican. And so people complaining about it are essentially saying that it's on the wrong side of history to kill human traffickers. Like, what the fuck is wrong? And, like, people are so intellectually dishonest when they choose to politicize a movie like this, because I've heard people say, like, there are no positive Mexican characters in the film at all. What? How about the journalist? How about the old lady he lives with? How about the fucking niece? You know, the main fucking, one of the main characters of the movie. She's Mexican too.
Well, yeah, Jesus, not every Mexican character in that film was a fucking villain.
No, but the people will say shit like, oh, they don't count. They're Mexican Americans. What do you mean they don't fucking count? They don't count because you don't want them to count, because you want to politicize a fucking movie.
Yeah. It's really, I don't know. I don't see the point of doing that. Like, the way I see it, it was a Rambo film where he fights a small contained group of scumbag traffickers in a really bad part of town. There's also people that are like, oh, he goes right over the border and it's a war zone. Can we get a little context here? He likely goes a lot fucking further into Mexico than just hopping directly across the fucking border. I'm sure it's in, like, a really shitty part of fucking town. Like, it's not just... There's people that are like, oh, it paints Mexico as awful.
This shit exists. Like, do people think that this shit isn't real? Like, these are just made up, like, Mexican caricatures for a movie? It's not. These people do exist. This stuff really happens. They are bad guys.
Yeah. Unfortunately, in just about every country, you've got traffickers. You've got human traffickers like that. You've got fucking rapists and serial murderers. It's where the film takes place. Rambo lives in Arizona, which is very near to the border. And this is where the traffickers are unfortunately from. This is where the niece's father is unfortunately from. It has nothing to do with, like, I mean, I don't want to go on like a big fucking going on some political tirade, but I don't agree with that. I don't agree that this is a political film.
He's not going into Mexico and, like, walking into, like, a soccer stadium or like a library and just killing random Mexicans. He's just killing bad guys. How many times in a movie that takes place entirely in America have you seen a guy go into some den full of bad guys and start killing them? It's the same shit. It just happens to be in Mexico.
Exactly. So the people that are only reading reviews or watching reviews of this film, and they're being swayed by the people telling them not to watch it for these reasons, watch it for yourself and decide for yourself whether this is a mega film or just an action film. It's just a Stallone action film. I've never heard the man say anything fucking racist in his life. I don't know whether he's liberal or conservative or whatever. I just know that he's a good fucking guy. I know that he doesn't just directly hate people randomly or condemn a race for this reason or not. The man just wants to make action films, and this happened to be the plot of Last Blood, and I thought it was great. I thought it was,
and I don't want to hear any shit about how he's like a white savior going into Mexico. Rambo's a fucking Native American, you fucking swine.
Yeah, for anybody that doesn't know this, the character, and this is from the book as well, I believe, is that he is of Native American, indigenous descent and German. These are the two mixes of his character, and it's kind of funny that this is being played by a fucking full-blooded Italian, but this is what the character was in the book, so this is the character that Rambo is playing. I mean, I'd rather Stallone play him than fucking Dustin Hoffman. I buy...
Yeah, which by the way, you know, if he's like of Native American descent and is from Arizona, then, you know, aside from a completely arbitrary, like, line on a map, he's essentially Mexican. Because they're the same fucking thing, basically.
Also, and this is one thing I haven't seen anybody mention, the people that claim this is an anti-immigration movie, blah, blah, blah. Rambo goes over the border illegally. Remember when he fucking rescues his niece? He jumps the fucking border. So fuck off with that shit. Rambo himself breaks the fucking law. He gets into America illegally.
God, I hate people. It's just like, yeah, if you don't like the movie, have a fucking reason that isn't that. Because all I am seeing with the criticism of this movie is people, one, not understanding shit about Rambo as a franchise or a character, and two, desperately trying to politicize it for their own stupid fucking agendas.
Even the fucking author of the novel, David Morrell, came out and said, "This isn't my Rambo." Hey, newsflash, idiot.
Fuck you. Fuck that guy, you idiot. Yeah, he's an idiot. Fuck him. Rambo, fucking Stallone took that character and made it a fucking something good.
Yeah, that was the character of Rambo we see in the films from First Blood and onward is a creator of Andrew Vanya, Sylvester Stallone, the other writers of the film, the other screenwriters. They took a character that in the novel was completely different. He was a fucking serial killer. He murdered... Yeah,
like, for the guy who wrote the novel to now say that, like, this movie lacks humanity or that it's too violent, like, what the fuck... The book that you wrote is way more fucking brutal and lacking in humanity than any Rambo movie. You hypocrite.
Villain. In the book, he's the fucking villain. He's the bad guy. It's a completely different story. If anything, Stallone took that character and he fucking ran with it. He shaped it into the version of him that we see today. So if the author of the book doesn't like it, tough tits. And that's not a fucking reason to condemn the movie either, because Stephen King hates about 80% to 90% of his film adaptations, which are, some are fucking better than his actual books. Like, I don't give a fuck if Stephen King doesn't like Christine or The Shining. They're fantastic films. So fuck David Morrell and...
Yeah, ironically, the only Stephen King movies that Stephen King likes are the ones currently playing in theaters that you can still spend money to go see. Funny how that works out.
Funny how he doesn't like The Shining, yet liked The Dark Tower. Fucking Christ. He liked an adaptation of like what was it, like a 9-book series.
It's 7 books, and it's all crammed into one like hour-and-a-half movie. It makes no sense.
An hour-and-a-half movie that's basically just fucking Last Action Hero, but like a really piss poor version of it. So fuck authors. I don't know. Not to get into a fucking tangent here, but I can't stand most authors. Like fucking Alan Moore doesn't like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, so he refuses to watch any other adaptation of any of his works. Like, go fucking cry yourself to sleep, baby.
He doesn't like fucking Batman the Killing Joke either. Alan Moore doesn't like any of the good shit he's written. He only likes the like weird, obscure, like porn shit that he's written, like Lost Girls, which is just like his weird hebephile fanfic where like a bunch of public domain literary children get together in a hostel and talk about fucking.
These are reasons that people are using for condemning the film, which that annoys me even more than some of the political stuff, because it's like, oh, well, the original author didn't like it, so I don't like it either. Well, fucking,
But, like, he's kind of not the author. Like, he wrote a book, yeah, but, like, Sylvester Stallone is the author of this character that we know as Rambo. They have, like, nothing in common. This guy has no fucking pedestal to stand on to have an opinion. He has nothing to do with the character. He's had nothing to do with Rambo for 50 years.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. And again, bear in mind, most authors don't like adaptations of their shit. So that's an awful fucking reason to condemn something.
I mean, I probably wouldn't either. Like, if I wrote a book and they changed it, I'd probably be salty over it too. But just in the case of, I mean, just this guy specifically, like, his criticism is just as dumb as everyone else's, but he thinks that because he technically invented the character, that it matters more. I don't know. Fuck him.
It's stupid. If you want to go see the movie, go fucking see it. Even though we've just completely spoiled it, you should go watch it anyway. I just think people should decide for themselves what the movie is about, and not by what some critic said or what the tomato meter is. Which, by the way, I'm not one to judge a film based on Rotten Tomatoes, but from what I've been fucking seeing, the audience score is a lot goddamn higher than the critic score. So fuck off.
I think Rotten Tomatoes is done. I think they're gonna be like folded in another couple of years. People are turning against Rotten Tomatoes in a big way.
Really fucking are. We could do a whole episode just fucking basically exposing them for the cunts that they are. Oh man, but yeah, I loved W.A.S.P.
Never listen to anyone. Just see movies that look cool.
Yeah,
and that's all that you need to know.
That's really all we're doing with this. Is we're talking about a series, a franchise, a character, and a film that we both very, very much enjoyed. I'm not looking to change anybody's fucking mind. If you didn't like it, that's cool. If you liked it, that's cool. If you want to go see it, go see it. If you don't. This isn't something.
If you didn't like the movie. The only way that you should have your mind changed is with a bullet.
God, yeah, pretty much. I think, how long have we been recording for? I haven't been, I didn't even pay
40
attention.
minutes.
Cool. I think that's probably fucking long enough. We covered a lot of shit, too.
Cool, we did it. And this is the first episode of Buff Movie Buffs. We're buff, we're the stuff, and we're in the
and
buff.
The girls can't get enough.
Yeah, the girls can't get enough. And when I go behind and do the bump and grind,
I'm gonna whisper in your ear. Size does matter, bitch.
Hell yeah.
Cameo from Professor Scott Steiner. Do you want to plug anything before we go?
I don't know. Oh yeah, I'm doing like whose channel is this going on? I don't even know.
I can send you a copy. I'm gonna fucking upload it to mine. You can upload it to yours too. We'll both fucking upload it.
Yeah, fuck it.
I'll throw it up on Dropbox when I put it together. Set it to some sort of video or pictures or whatever. So we can both fucking upload that shit. But if you want to support my channel financially at Patreon at Cinematica. Also, use the promo code DROME at 1201beyond.com/DromeVPN for VPN, for NordVPN. $2.99 a month if you do that shit. Fucking, what does Josh Hadley say? It's a digital condom for your internet surfing if you end up in dark fucking holes on the net. And also, it makes it easier to watch some of the more niche type movies that I like to talk about, and if you ever want to check them out, it makes it a lot easier. I'm not saying it makes it easier to torrent stuff, but maybe I am.
Hell yeah.
Torrent
everything.
Torrent everything. Any plugs on your end? You want to plug your Patreon or whatever?
Hey, yeah, well, I have a Patreon. You can give me money. That's pretty fucking sick. But also, over on my channel, Endless Jess, it's Scary Spooky Bullshit Month. So for all through October, I'm going to be uploading really stupid reviews of like scary, spooky bullshit movies. So, anything that's basically anything in your wheelhouse, that kind of shit. Horror, violent, exploitation, gory, fucking. Oh man, I've seen some movies lately that I can't wait to fucking ramble and babble about like an idiot. So tune in for that. It's going to be real stupid. Scary, spooky bullshit month, baby. Hell yeah.
Awesome. Get stupid with us this October. Thanks for listening, guys.